Enslaved for centuries, the desperate Sheliak race sent out a plea across the stars. Humanity, end our suffering. The distress call, recorded by rebel leader Indus, reached Earth and sent shockwaves through the United Nations Space Command. Captain Will Walker, a grizzled veteran of interstellar wars, watched the harrowing footage of Kavak atrocities with clenched fists. Emaciated Sheliak slaves toiled in hellish mines under the watchful eyes of cruel overseers. Screams echoed as energy whips flayed the backs of any who dared defy their masters. Walker slammed his fist on the briefing room table. "This ends now," he growled. "The Kavak Empire's reign of terror is over." The UNSC brass nodded grimly, authorizing Walker to assemble a crack team for a daring mission into the heart of enemy space. Sergeant Ava Reese, a master hacker who could slice through any alien firewall. Lieutenant Caden Novak, an expert in Kavak language and culture, and Corporal Jace Thorne, a sniper whose aim was as cold and precise as the void itself. They trained relentlessly, honing their skills in realistic sims of Kavak ships and tactics. On Zephyria, Indus and his Sheliak Freedom Front waged a desperate guerrilla war, ambushing patrols and raiding armories to steal what weapons they could. But the rebels paid a bloody price. Retaliating with characteristic brutality, the Kavak governor had captives publicly flayed alive, and their skins hung from the gates as a warning. With his people dying by the day and hope fading, Indus could only pray the humans would arrive in time. After months of preparation, Walker's team stood ready, a scalpel poised to slash at the Empire's jugular. But even they couldn't do it alone. First they had to reach Zephyria, link up with Indus, and disable the planet's orbital defenses to open the way for the human armada massing at the border. The Kavak would soon learn the folly of underestimating the indomitable human spirit. When free humans and aliens unite, even stars tremble before their fury. The space around Zephyria shimmered and warped as Captain Walker's stealth shuttle emerged from hyperspace, undetected by the planet's sensor grid. In the cramped cargo hold, Sergeant Reese's fingers flew over her datapad, green codes scrolling across the screen as she probed for weaknesses in the Kavak firewalls. Lieutenant Novak adjusted his translation matrix, fine-tuning it to intercept the aliens' encrypted comms. Deploying in 3, 2, 1... The shuttle's belly yawned open, and Walker's team plummeted into the night sky, the roar of the wind drowning out all sound. They angled toward the angular silhouette of the Kavak Command Center, a black spider crouched on the crest of a jagged mountain range. Thorne tracked their descent through his scope, ready to pick off any sentries who might spot the intruders. Reese clutched her rigging with white knuckles, fighting down the surge of adrenaline as the fortress grew larger and larger below her boots. At the last moment, the squad triggered their grav chutes, wrenching them out of free fall and into a controlled glide. They hit the command center's roof with barely a whisper, mag-locked soles adhering to the slick metal. Walker whirled his fingers in a silent order. Breach and clear. Thorne dropped to one knee, sweeping the perimeter, his rifle an extension of his will. Reese connected her infiltrator spike to the access hatch and started slicing. Sweat beaded her forehead as she probed the lock's defenses, processing algorithms and counter-intrusion measures flashing through her mind. With a muted click, the hatch unsealed. Novak held up 3 fingers, 3 tangos inside. The team slipped through the portal wraith quiet, splitting up to neutralize their targets. Walker slunk down a dimly lit corridor, senses straining. Ahead, a Kavak guard lieutenant chittered into a comms unit, his attention focused elsewhere. The human closed the distance in 2 soundless strides and clamped a hand over the reptilian's snout. Servos whined in his exosuit as he wrenched the alien's head back and dragged a razor-edged combat knife across its throat in one economical motion. Green ichor sprayed the wall as Walker lowered the body to the deck, his face an impassive mask. One down. "Walker, I'm patched into their network," Reese reported over the sub-vocal comlink. "Retrieving access codes for the sensor grid and defense cannons now." "Confirmed," Walker replied. "Novak, what's the word on comms?" The lieutenant's voice crackled in his ear. "You're going to want to hear this, Captain. I just intercepted orders from Governor Krax. He's meeting with his top generals at a facility in the mountains. Uploading coordinates. A feral grin split Walker's face. They had their target. Orbital defenses disabled, Reese reported. The fort is open. As if on cue, the night sky erupted with the flaming trails of drop pods hurtling to the surface. The Marines had arrived. Walker keyed his comm. All units, this is Alpha Leader. Secure the command center and prepare for Phase 2. We're going hunting. The command center buzzed with activity as Walker's team coordinated the incoming Marine forces. Reese's fingers danced across holographic displays, directing troop movements and artillery strikes with surgical precision. Novak's voice crackled over the comms, relaying orders in flawless Kavak to confuse and misdirect the enemy. Sir, we've got a problem, Reese called out, her eyes fixed on a tactical overlay. Long-range sensors are picking up a massive Kavak fleet approaching. ETA 6 hours. Walker's eyes hardened. Looks like the Empire isn't ready to give up Zephyria without a fight. We need a plan, and fast. As if in answer, the command center's doors hissed open. A tall, willowy figure strode in, flanked by 2 human Marines. The alien's iridescent skin shimmered under the harsh lights, 4 obsidian eyes fixed on Walker. Captain, Novak said, this is Zara, leader of the Sheliak resistance cell in this sector. Zara inclined her head. We received word of your arrival. My people stand ready to fight alongside you. Walker nodded, his mind racing. We'll need every advantage we can get. Lieutenant, what's the status on those captured Kavak ships? Fueled and prepped for launch, sir. We've got 3 corvettes and a frigate. A plan crystallized in Walker's mind. He turned to address the room. Listen up. We're going to hit them where they least expect it, from within their own fleet. The captain outlined his strategy, pointing out key targets on the holographic display. Novak, Zara, you're with me. We'll lead a strike team onto their flagship. Thorn, you're staying planetside. Keep the Kavak ground forces busy and off our backs. Corporal Thorn nodded grimly. They won't know what hit them, sir. As the team dispersed to prepare, Walker pulled Zara aside. Your people have suffered for centuries under Kavak rule. Are you ready for this? Zara's multifaceted eyes glittered with grit. We've waited generations for this moment, Captain. The Sheliak will not falter now. Hours later, Walker stood on the bridge of a captured Kavak corvette, the vastness of space stretching before him. The enemy fleet loomed ahead, a wall of sleek, predatory ships dripping with weapons. All teams, execute Phase 1, Walker ordered. Their small flotilla of captured ships slipped into formation with the Kavak armada. Novak's voice filled the comms, a string of guttural clicks and hisses that fooled the enemy sensors. As they approached the massive Kavak flagship, Walker turned to his strike team. Human Marines stood shoulder to shoulder with Sheliak warriors, an unprecedented alliance forged in the crucible of war. Remember, he said, we only get one shot at this. Make it count. The corvette's docking clamps engaged with a shudder. Walker hefted his pulse rifle. Breach and clear. Go, go, go! They stormed onto the flagship, a tide of vengeance sweeping through its corridors. Kavak crewmen fell before their onslaught, taken completely by surprise. Zara moved with liquid grace, her energy blade humming as it carved through enemy armor. This way to the bridge, Novak called out, consulting a holomap of the ship's layout. They fought their way up through the decks, alarms blaring and emergency force fields snapping into place. Walker's exosuit whined with the strain as he ripped a sealed bulkhead from its moorings, clearing the path for his team. Finally, they reached the bridge. The doors slid open to reveal a towering Kavak in ornate battle armor. 4 eyes narrowed as they fixed on the intruders. I am Admiral Zexkul, the alien snarled. You dare to challenge the might of the Kavak Empire? Walker raised his rifle. Your reign of terror ends here, Admiral. Zexkul roared and charged, energy crackling around his gauntleted fists. Walker met the assault head-on, his exosuit's servos straining as he grappled with the massive alien. Novak, get to work on those systems, Walker grunted, barely dodging a blow that would have caved in his chest. The lieutenant darted to a nearby console, fingers flying across alien controls. I'm in. Rerouting weapons control now. Zara and her Sheliak warriors fanned out, engaging the bridge crew in close-quarters combat. The air filled with the hum of energy blades and the acrid smell of ozone. Walker and Zexcool traded blows, neither able to gain the upper hand. The humans' enhanced strength was matched by the Kavok's natural power and centuries of combat experience. Zara, the reactor core! Walker called out between gasps. You know what to do! The Sheliak leader nodded and sprinted from the bridge, a team of saboteurs in her wake. Suddenly, Zexcool's fist connected with Walker's jaw, sending him sprawling. The Admiral loomed over him, energy dagger poised for a killing blow. You have lost, human, Zexcool hissed. Your pathetic rebellion ends here. Walker's hand closed around a fallen energy pistol. I don't think so, he growled and fired. The blast caught Zexcool in the chest, sending him staggering back. Walker rolled to his feet, pressing the advantage. With a series of brutal strikes, he drove the alien to his knees. Zexcool looked up, defeat in his alien eyes, but then his mandibles curled in a cruel smile. If I fall, I'm taking you all with me. The Admiral's hand slammed down on a console. Alarms blared as the ship's self-destruct sequence engaged. Walker, Novak shouted, we need to go now. They sprinted from the bridge, gathering their forces as they went. Zara rejoined them, her iridescent skin smeared with Kavok blood. The reactor's set to overload, she reported. This ship is done for. They raced back to their corvette, sealed the airlock, and disengaged just as the flagship's hull began to buckle. The blast rocked their small ship, but Walker's pilot kept them steady. Through the view screen, they watched as the Kavok fleet fell into disarray. Without centralized control, their formation crumbled. Look, Novak pointed, our reinforcements are punching through. Sure enough, UNSC warships were pouring through the gap created by the flagship's destruction. The tide of battle had turned. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Signal Corporal Thorne. Tell him it's time to take those strongholds. As the battle raged around them, Walker turned to Zara. The Sheliak's eyes shimmered with an emotion he couldn't quite read. Your people fought well today, he said softly. Zara nodded. We have struck a great blow against our oppressors. But this is only the beginning, isn't it? Walker's gaze drifted to the stars beyond the view screen, where the Kavok homeworld of Nexus Prime waited. Yes, he replied. The real war is just getting started. Walker's eyes hardened as he gazed at the distant stars. Zara, we need to capitalize on this victory. The Kavok are reeling. It's time to strike at their other strongholds. The Sheliak leader nodded, her iridescent skin shimmering. My people are ready. Where do we begin? Zirion, Walker said, pulling up a holographic display of a fortress moon. It's home to their military academy. We take that out, we cripple their ability to train new warriors. Hours later, Walker stood before a mirror, adjusting the unfamiliar contours of his Kavok disguise. The biomimetic suit itched, but it would fool the Academy's sensors. He turned to his team, a mix of human and Sheliak operatives similarly disguised. Remember, he growled, his voice modulated to mimic Kavok intonation. We're here to teach these cadets a lesson they won't soon forget. They strode into the Academy's main hall, Walker's heart pounding beneath his artificial carapace. A young Kavok approached, mandibles clicking in deference. Honored instructors, the cadet said, we await your wisdom. Walker inclined his head, praying his antenna wouldn't slip. To the training grounds, we have much to discuss about defense systems. As they made their way through the facility, Walker's team split off in pairs, each heading to predetermined sabotage points. He kept his movements measured, deliberate, mimicking the Kavok's rigid posture. In the control room, Walker's clawed hands flew over the consoles, disabling security protocols and unlocking access points. Alarms blared, but it was too late. Outside, the sky erupted with fiery streaks, as Sheliak drop pods punched through the atmosphere. Zara and Thorn led the assault, their commando units swarming over the unprepared garrison. Walker shed his disguise, drawing his pulse rifle. All units pushed to the central plaza. Let's give these cadets a proper education in defeat. The battle raged across Zirion's surface, a dance of plasma fire and thunder. Human and Sheliak fought as one, their movements synchronized by countless hours of joint training and the fires of shared combat. As the last pockets of resistance crumbled, Walker stood atop the Academy's highest spire, surveying their handiwork. The fortress moon had fallen in a matter of hours. His comm crackled. "Captain," Sergeant Reese's voice came through, tinged with excitement. "You're going to want to hear this. We just pulled off something big on Arcona 6. Walker listened as Reese detailed their audacious takeover of the shipyards. His mind raced with the implications. They now had the ships and resources to strike at the heart of the Kavok Empire. Reports flooded in from across the sector. A dozen worlds in open revolt, Sheliak populations rising up against their oppressors. The Kavok were caught flat-footed, their forces spread thin. "Sir," Novak reported, "we're picking up massive troop movements from Nexus Prime. Emperor Zolthak is pulling his elite guard from the capital." Walker's lips curled into a fierce grin. He's desperate, trying to shore up his collapsing empire. This is our chance. In the days that followed, Walker found himself thrust into the unfamiliar role of diplomat. He shuttled between newly liberated worlds, working to forge a lasting alliance between humans and Sheliak. "We need a unified command structure," he argued during one particularly heated meeting. "Our strength lies in our combined might." But cracks were already forming in their fledgling coalition. Some Sheliak leaders pushed for an aggressive campaign of liberation across the galaxy. Others, scarred by centuries of Kavok brutality, advocated for a more isolationist approach. Even among his own people, Walker sensed unease. The UNSC brass questioned the wisdom of such deep entanglement in alien affairs. The specter of past human imperialism hung over their discussions like a shroud. As another round of negotiations dragged into the night, a thunderous explosion rocked the conference center. Plasma fire lanced through the air, cutting down delegates left and right. Walker threw himself over Indus, shielding the Sheliak diplomat with his armored bulk. Through the smoke and chaos, he caught a glimpse of familiar iridescent skin. Zara stood over them, energy blade humming as she deflected incoming fire. A searing bolt caught her in the side. Zara stumbled, her blade wavering. Walker's breath caught in his throat as he saw the spreading stain of Sheliak blood. "Gallic!" Zara gasped, her obsidian eyes fixing on a figure retreating through the flames. "He's trying to seize control." Walker's mind raced. He knew Gallic, a firebrand Sheliak general who had argued for the most extreme measures against the Kavok. Now it seemed he had decided to take matters into his own hands. As medics rushed to Zara's side, reports flooded in. Gallic's forces had launched a coordinated strike across multiple systems. They had even managed to seize control of a human shipyard, threatening to fracture the entire rebellion. Walker stood at a crossroads. Every instinct screamed at him to hunt down Gallic and crush this insurgency before it could take root. But he knew the window of opportunity to strike at Nexus Prime was rapidly closing. He looked at his team, their faces etched with fatigue and uncertainty. The fate of two species, perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. "Set course for Nexus Prime," Walker said, his voice steady despite the turmoil in his gut. "We'll deal with Gallic after we've cut the head off the Kavok snake." As their ships powered up, leaving the chaos of Gallic's betrayal behind, Walker's gaze fixed on the distant stars. Somewhere out there, Emperor Zolthak waited, the full might of the Kavok Empire at his command. In his right hand, Walker clutched a data chip containing the compiled intelligence on Nexus Prime's defenses. His left hand trembled slightly as he keyed in the final jump coordinates. "All ships, prepare for transition," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension coiled in his gut. "May fortune favor the bold." Space twisted around them as the united human Sheliak fleet plunged into the swirling maw of the jump corridor. For endless seconds, reality bent and warped. Then with a violent lurch, they emerged. "Status report!" Walker barked, blinking away the disorientation of the jump. Before anyone could respond, the view screen erupted in a hellstorm of plasma fire. An immense Kavak armada filled the space before them, dwarfing their own fleet. "Multiple impacts!" Novak shouted as the ship shuddered under a barrage of enemy fire. "Shields down to 60%! Walker's mind raced, assessing their dire situation. The Kavak had anticipated their assault. Emperor Zolthak had arrayed the full might of his empire to defend Nexus Prime. "Sir, we're outgunned and outnumbered," his tactical officer reported, fear edging into her voice. "We can't win this fight." Walker's eyes narrowed as he studied the enemy formation. There, just off the planet's northern pole, a slight thinning in the defensive grid. "We don't need to win the whole battle," he growled. "We just need to punch through." He opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships concentrate fire on coordinates 739er. Everything you've got." A tide of missiles and energy beams lanced out from the human and Sheliak vessels. The weakest point in the Kavak line erupted in a cascade of explosions. "Insertion team, this is our window," Walker shouted. "Launch now!" He sprinted from the bridge, pulse rifle in hand. Zara, Indus, and Thorn fell in behind him as they raced to the waiting dropships. A motley crew of human marines and Sheliak warriors crowded the launch bay. As Walker strapped himself into the lead craft, the ship rocked with another devastating hit. "Shields critical," Novak's voice crackled over the comms. "We can't hold them off much longer." "Then don't," Walker replied grimly. "Fall back and regroup. We'll handle the rest." The bay doors opened, revealing the inferno beyond. Streams of Kavak fighters swarmed through space, while capital ships traded titanic broadsides. "Go, go, go!" Walker roared. Their dropships screamed out of the launch bay, immediately set upon by enemy fighters. Walker felt his stomach lurch as their pilot threw them into a wild corkscrew, dodging streams of plasma fire. "Thorn, get on those guns," he ordered. The sniper's hands flew over the weapon controls. Precise bursts of fire lanced out, shredding pursuing fighters. But the numbers were overwhelming. One by one, Walker watched in horror as their sister ships vanished in balls of flame. A staccato of impacts rattled their hull as flak bursts peppered them from planetary defense cannons. "We're hit!" the pilot screamed. "Controls are—" His words cut off as their craft slammed into the surface of Nexus Prime. Walker's head snapped forward, his vision blurring as alarms blared. He tasted blood. Groaning, he fumbled with his restraints. "Sound off," he croaked. "Zara's hurt bad," Indus's voice came from nearby. "The others, I don't think they made it." Walker staggered to his feet, fighting a wave of nausea. He stumbled to where Zara lay, a jagged piece of metal protruding from her side. Her obsidian eyes fluttered open, unfocused with pain. "Leave me," she gasped. "Not a chance," Walker growled, applying a pressure bandage to stem the fluorescent blood flow. He keyed his comm. "Thorn, what's your status?" Static crackled, then made it planetside, about a click north of you. "I've got eyes on the capital." Walker nodded grimly. "Link up with us. We're pushing for the central spire." As Indus helped Zara to her feet, Walker peered out of the twisted wreckage of their dropship. The outskirts of the Kayavak capital sprawled before them, a maze of twisted metal and crystalline structures. In the distance, the imposing silhouette of the central spire rose like a malevolent sentinel. The sound of approaching hovercraft filled the air. Walker's grip tightened on his rifle. "Looks like our welcoming committee has arrived," he growled. "Time to crash this party."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.